The Satanic Temple is banned in Boston. A British ufologist is found dead after texting his mother that he was in trouble. And the mainstream media tries to scare you away from the WikiLeaks website. This is SkyWatch TV for Tuesday, October 18th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, an update on the Battle of Mosul. That's the last urban stronghold for the Islamic State in northern Iraq. Kurdish fighters reportedly moved through villages east of Mosul on Monday. Smoke covers much of Mosul today as Islamic State fighters have lit tire fires and oil fires to obscure their positions from U.S. warplanes. Syrian rebels say they've captured the village of Dabik. That's the small village that the Prophet Muhammad said would be the site of the final climactic battle between the forces of Islam and the West. One of the leaders of the Free Syrian Army said the ISIS myth of their great battle in Dabik is finished. Well, not so much. In the grand tradition of moving the goalposts of the prophecy, if it's not fulfilled on schedule, ISIS has already put out the word that this really wasn't the final battle of Dabik. There's another one coming, and that's the one that the Mahdi will reappear at. Back here at home, WikiLeaks, which has released a flood of emails hacked from the presidential campaign of Hillary Clinton, especially from campaign chairman John Podesta, has given us a really interesting and, well, disgusting look at the sausage factory, as it were, the inner workings of politics. The group, WikiLeaks, activated contingency plans Sunday after its founder, Julian Assange, had his internet connection cut by a state party. Now, Assange has been taking refuge in the embassy of Ecuador in London to avoid extradition to Sweden, where he was accused of sexual assault by a woman. It is probably not a coincidence that the emails published by WikiLeaks have been, at the very least, embarrassing to the Democratic Party in general and Hillary Clinton in particular, hence the internet action. This, by the way, led to rumors that were flying around over the web, over the weekend on the web, that Assange had been assassinated. That is not the case. But there are rumors that U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has threatened the nation of Ecuador with serious repercussions if they don't give up Assange, or at least silence him. One of the more interesting revelations from John Podesta's emails, a 2008 message from an executive at Citigroup. It's the bank that received the largest bailout from the U.S. government during the financial crisis, basically giving Podesta, who was the co-chair of President Obama's transition team at that time, a list of recommended nominees for cabinet positions. This was a month before the election. And these, according to this email, this bank executive correctly identified Eric Holder as the Attorney General, Janet Napolitano as Homeland Security Chief, Robert Gates, Secretary of Defense, Rahm Emanuel for Chief of Staff, Peter Orszag, Office of Management and Budget, Arnie Duncan for Education, Eric Shinseki for Veterans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 31 in all. In a sense, basically, what we see here is that bankers picked the cabinet for President Obama. Now, this probably happens under Republican administrations as well. We just don't have documentation of it like we do here. Again, this email out Friday night, over the weekend, Julian Assange, founder of WikiLeaks, no more internet. I'm not much of a coincidence theorist. So how did the major media respond to this revelation that bankers basically picked the United States government? CNN anchor Chris Cuomo last week told viewers Wednesday that it's illegal for people not in the media to even look at these emails at the WikiLeaks website. And when he says media, you can bet he doesn't mean, like SkyWatch TV. He means approved media, like CNN, New York Times, Washington Post. This is absolutely a lie. You can view them right now at wikileaks.org. In fact, this is what the page looks like, and I encourage you to log in. You can search through the Podesta emails. In fact, you can search through and verify what I said last week about the emails he received from former astronaut Edgar Mitchell. Absolutely true. Mitchell believed that the Vatican knew something about extraterrestrial intelligence. But meanwhile, while this is going on, this just gives you an idea into the mindset of the elites who rule us. Your mind, my mind, not capable of handling the truth. As Hillary Clinton said, as disclosed in another email, said at a private meeting of a large bank down in Brazil, we have to have two positions, one for the public and one that we share behind closed doors. That's how they think, and we're not supposed to be entitled to know the truth. Google has decided to fact-check your news for you. It's a service so that you can know conveniently, without having to really search for messy details and research. It takes time. So they'll just tell you what's true, give you little links to little fact-check links, a service to verify whether the story is real or not. Google's head of news said it will help readers find fact-checking in large news stories. This has become something of an obsession for the major media here in the last few years. There are now more than 100 fact-checking sites online. Now, is it a coincidence that Google is launching this service just a month before the election? Less than 3 weeks before the election. As I said, I'm not much of a coincidence theorist, but it must be fine. It must be okay. It's for our own good. Fact checkers never, ever have a political or religious bias. Well, it's only a matter of time before the government actually gets into this business. Last week, at a conference in Pittsburgh, President Obama said that there needs to be some way to sort through information on the internet that passes some basic truthiness tests. Now, of course, it's to protect democracy, because in order to vote the way we're supposed to, we have to have accurate information. He said the answer is absolutely not censorship, but creating places on the internet where people can say, this is reliable information. Like the president's claims that the $170 billion we gave to Iran were not ransom, or how there would be absolutely no American soldiers' boots on the ground in Syria, how he had no idea that Hillary was using a private email server, how you could keep your doctor and your health insurance plan if you liked, how he would close Gitmo and end the war in Iraq first thing after taking office, and you could take that to the bank. Truthy like that? The one thing you do not want the government inserting itself between you and sources of information to filter it for your protection. But believe you me, it's already being done by Google, by Bing, by Yahoo, by whatever search engine you use. They're all using algorithms to pick and choose the information that we receive when we go to the internet. Use multiple sources and then use your head. That's the best filter you have. In other news, a prominent British ufologist was found dead in Poland in July, days after he texted a message to his mother, "If anything happens to me, investigate." Max Spires was 39 years old. He'd been in Poland to give a talk on UFOs and government cover-ups. His death was ruled natural causes before any kind of post-mortem examination. His body was sent back to England, and a post-mortem was performed, but his mother doesn't have the results yet, 2 months later. Still waiting to find out what was behind that. From time to time, we update you on the spreading influence of the culture of death in this world. The idea that death is an acceptable treatment for certain medical or emotional conditions, because if you're not having fun or feeling good, then life just isn't worth living. At least that's the message that we're being given. That appears to be the consensus in the Netherlands, where the government is working on a new law to create an end-of-life guideline or policy for elderly people. This law would legalize assisted suicide for people who are just tired of living. This is where things go when life isn't sacred. Europe has become very, very secular. There is no commonly accepted belief that as we are creations of God, human life is sacred, intrinsically sacred, regardless of the quality of your life. Lots of people at different points in their lives can genuinely want to die. The loss of a loved one, death of a spouse or a child, breakup of a marriage, after a period of extended physical suffering. But many people, after a period of time, sometimes years, can learn once again to appreciate and even enjoy life. This is a utilitarian approach to human life, which is nothing short of repackaged eugenics, the idea that government knows best who should and should not be allowed to live. It basically is a belief that if you're not productive, as defined by the elites who control the government, you're a useless eater. You're just consuming resources that could be better used by somebody who's paying taxes or serving in the military. And this belief is spreading also from the Netherlands. City Council of Rotterdam calling for judges to have the power to compel incompetent women to be given compulsory contraception by court order. The alderman responsible for youth welfare says, not being born is a form of child protection. Now, it's true that there are some people who really aren't fit to be parents. But again, we do not want the government making that decision. What is shocking to me is that less than 75 years after Hitler, and in Hitler's own backyard, this is being openly proposed by a government in Europe. Now, the proposal's met with a lot of resistance from others in the Netherlands, which is a good thing. But if you're basing it on the ick factor, the fact that it just makes you feel a little queasy, instead of standing on some principles that transcend our human logic, the idea that human life is sacred because we are created in God's image, that's an argument that those opposed to this eugenics argument will eventually lose. But before we Americans start feeling too high and mighty, we need to remember that the Germans, the Nazis, got this idea from us. They modeled their eugenics program on one that was in place in the state of California in the 1930s. And that in some places here in the United States, women were still being sterilized without their knowledge or consent as late as the 1970s. Eugenics keeps coming back. Wears different face, but it keeps coming back. It's being presented to us now as child protection, transhumanism. Everybody gets to live forever. Well, not everybody. Only the people who deserve to live forever. Well, who makes that decision? It's also being presented to us as a woman's right to choose, a woman's right to reproductive health services. And if you think I'm exaggerating or stretching a point, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is one of the progressive members of the court, and she's on record as saying she supported Roe v. Wade. That was the decision that made abortion a constitutional right in the United States. She supported Roe v. Wade because it would help us eliminate populations that we don't want to have too many of, end quote. Populations that we don't want too many of, as defined by her and her friends. Call it what you want, but if you're on the same side of any social issue as these two men, Hitler and Himmler, you need to think about your position again and think harder. Finally, the Satanic Temple was rejected by the city of Boston when it asked to give an invocation at a city council meeting. Typical PR from the non-theistic, atheistic Satanic Temple, which has figured out how to use laws and policies intended to protect religious freedom against those who believe in a supreme creator deity in order to get free press. Now, I get the irony of the fact that I am, in fact, talking about them again, but I think it's a valuable lesson that we as Christians need to remember here in the United States. We cannot depend on the government to protect us or to promote Christian values, nor should we, unless we're prepared to set up a theocracy, which sets up a whole another set of problems, like who gets to decide which flavor of Christianity gets promoted. The Founding Fathers lived within a few generations of a war in England over that very issue. And that's why they tried to separate church and state, but not the way progressives or skeptics think today. They wanted to protect the church from the government, not the government from religious people. In fact, in the early Massachusetts Bay Colony, pastors were not allowed to hold public office because it was believed that they had more important things to do than to attend to the mundane affairs of governing civil society. They were supposed to be studying the Word and preparing to preach on Sunday. There will be a day when a theocracy will return to the United States, a global theocracy. But the only perfect one in history will be the one that is established when Christ returns, and come quickly. This week on SkyWatch TV, we talk about Whispering Ponies Ranch. Again, you get an update from Tom Horn and Nita Horn about new construction that's taking place there and some new relationships that have been made with ministries serving children in need, children who've been emotionally, sometimes physically abused. And that's where the therapy horses of Whispering Ponies Ranch come into play. We also tell you how you can be a sponsor of a particular pony, get an actual hoof-signed photograph of your sponsored pony. The program airs tonight 4 times around the country. The Victory Television Network down in Arkansas, 6:30 p.m. tonight. All these times are Central Time, by the way. WGGN in Sandusky, WLLA in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and then tonight, coast to coast on the Christian Television Network, DirecTV Channel 376, Dish Network Channel 267, and the Glory Star Satellite Channel 117. Coast to coast twice on Wednesday, Cornerstone Network, 2:30 p.m., and World Harvest Television at 6 p.m. That's DirecTV Channel 367. Thursday, WLLA in Kalamazoo, and then Saturday, the Victory Television Network, 3:30 in the afternoon, and Saturday evening, WCLF-TV in Tampa. And that program is available now on demand on the SkyWatch TV channel on Roku. And that's where you also find this week's web-exclusive interview, a program we couldn't fit into the network television schedule, but it was too good to keep it to ourselves. L.A. Marzulli and Richard Shaw, the men behind the Watchers DVD series. L.A. also with a new book, Nephilim Hybrids, talking about the Kandahar giant, a 12 to 15-foot giant killed by U.S. military in Afghanistan in about 2005, 2006, somewhere in there, and returned to Wright-Patterson here in the U.S. They talked to eyewitnesses, men who claim to be eyewitnesses anyway. Hear their story, and you can find that on the SkyWatch TV channels on Roku and on YouTube and at skywatchtv.com, one of our SkyWatch TV web exclusives. And if you need a portable version, that interview and everything else we do on SkyWatch TV, part of the SkyWatch TV podcast, audio versions, you can listen while you work. To find out how to download the audio and carry them around with you, log on to skywatchtv.com, click the menu bar at the top where it says podcast. Your support is what helps us keep these reports coming to you on a daily basis. And during the month of October, for your donation of any amount, a very timely gift, God's Ghostbusters, a book about the things that go bump in the night, the cultural icons of this time of year, ghosts, werewolves, vampires, demons, from a Christian perspective. We'll send that book to you for your donation of any amount during October while supplies last. To donate and for information, log on to skywatchtv.com/donate. You can also help us just by clicking the mouse. Wherever you find a story from SkyWatch TV, click share, click like, or please click subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. This week, my own website, DerekPGilbert.com, featuring an interview with Pastor Carl Gallups about his new book, When the Lion Roars. He explains why we are living in the most prophetically significant time in history since the first coming of Messiah. You'll find that interview and many other things posted at DerekPGilbert.com. If you got a comment, question, or suggestion, fire that off to dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV. Can you sing the blues with a heart full of joy? The answer is yes, because as you may know all too well, sometimes the joy that comes from accepting Jesus Christ only follows after you've been broken for good. SkyWatch TV is proud to present the new CD by Joe Horn and Broken for Good, Right Where You Stand, featuring the dynamite lead track, Johnny. When you order this CD from the SkyWatch TV store, you'll also receive the special Johnny Project DVD featuring a special one-on-one message of salvation and redemption from Pastor Bruce Beelan, who played the Johnny character in the Johnny video, as well as special commentary from writer-producer Joe Artis Horn and special SkyWatch TV world premiere countdown programs that led up to the world premiere of the video of Johnny. You'll also receive the books Redeemed Unredeemable by Donna Howell of Broken for Good and John McTernan's When Jesus Sets You Free, You Are Free Indeed. 2 books that demonstrate that the love of God is never so far away that He can't find you right where you stand. You'll also get the acoustic instrumental album from Broken for Good's Stan Williams, featuring Celtic acoustic originals like Finger Dance, Celtic Walk, historical hymns like I Surrender All, and many more. Right Where You Stand by Joe Horn and Broken for Good is gutsy, full of passionate songs of faith and redemption, like Talk to Jesus.
And talk to Jesus. And talk to
Begin Again.
To begin again.
Come All My Children.
Come on, my children.
Right Light.
On the right light.
And many more.
It's gonna set me free.
All of this together is a $75 value, but it's yours now for just $29.95 when you order the Joe Horn and Broken for Good CD Right Where You Stand from the SkyWatch TV store. Order now by calling the number on your screen or log on to skywatchtvstore.com. Contingency plans Sunday after its founder, Julian Assange, had his internet connection cut by a state party. Now, Assange has been taking refuge in the embassy of Ecuador in London to avoid extradition to Sweden, where he was accused of sexual assault by a woman. It is probably not a coincidence that the emails published by WikiLeaks have been, at the very least, embarrassing. The Satanic Temple is banned in Boston. A British ufologist is found dead after texting his mother that he was in trouble. And the mainstream media tries to scare you away from the WikiLeaks website. They've captured the village of Dabiq. That's the small village that the Prophet Muhammad said would be the site of the final climactic battle between the forces of Islam and the West. One of the leaders of the Free Syrian Army said the ISIS myth of their great battle in Dabiq is finished. Well, not so much. In the grand tradition of moving the goalposts of the prophecy if it's not fulfilled on schedule, ISIS has already put out the word that this is SkyWatch TV for Tuesday, October 18th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, an update on the Battle of Mosul. That's the last urban stronghold for the Islamic State in northern Iraq. Kurdish fighters reportedly moved through villages east of Mosul on Monday. Smoke covers much of Mosul today as Islamic State fighters have lit tire fires and oil fires to obscure their positions from U.S. warplanes. Syrian rebels say that this really wasn't the final battle of Dabiq. There's another one coming, and that's the one that the Mahdi will reappear at. Back here at home, WikiLeaks, which has released a flood of emails hacked from the presidential campaign of Hillary Clinton, especially from campaign chairman John Podesta, has given us a really interesting and, well, disgusting look at the sausage factory, as it were, the inner workings of politics. The group WikiLeaks activated